Hey guys, today's episode of Sports Spectrum's podcast is presented by our brand new Sports Spectrum 52-week increase devotional. Have you gotten your copy yet? I'm telling you, this is a book. If you're thinking about it's the beginning of the new year, what is a devotional each week that I can go through for myself? Maybe I want to go through it with my child, with a small group, with a men's group, maybe with a team. The 52-week increase devotional, inspiring stories of faith from the world of pro sports, is out now and available, and I highly recommend it. I'm holding my copy in my hand right now. You can actually hear the book right there. Each week, the devotional is focused on a different athlete or sports figure, and their words are taken from an interview that they did with us right here on Sports Spectrum. And this is an incredible resource. Go get your copy right now at theincrease.com. That's the website, theincrease.com. You can also get it on Amazon. I highly recommend the Increase 52-week devotional. And you know many of the athletes that are featured in there because you're probably a listener of this show and you've probably heard some of the interviews, but we took those interviews and we made it into a book, and I'm telling you, it's going to bless you. The 52-week Increase devotional. Get your copy today.
This is the Sports Spectrum Podcast, where faith and sports intersect. Now let's bring in our host, former ESPN producer, Jason Romano.
And welcome everyone to today's podcast. I am Jason Romano. My email address, jason@sportspectrum.com. If you'd like to reach me, maybe you have a guest idea, a topic, or something we should be covering here on the intersection of sports and faith here at Sports Spectrum, you can email me directly, jason@sportspectrum.com. And definitely check out our website. That has all of our content, sportspectrum.com. Devotionals, podcasts, articles, everything that you would want to consume as far as resources, as far as stories, podcasts, like I mentioned. Sportspectrum.com is the home base for all of it. That's the place to go to each and every day for the intersection of sports and faith. And we're so glad to bring Jesus into today's conversation with Mitch Canham. Mitch is the Oregon State head baseball coach. He's also an alum of Oregon State. You might remember that name because he was a member of both the 2006 and 2007 Oregon State teams that won back-to-back NCAA national championships at the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. After playing baseball in college, Mitch was drafted by the San Diego Padres with the 57th overall pick in the 2007 Major League Baseball draft. He went on to play pro ball for 9 seasons from 2007 to 2015, spending time with the Padres and the Athletics and the Cardinals, the Royals, and the Washington Nationals organization, making it as high as AAA. And then Mitch was ready to start something else, and that turned into a coaching career where he was managing in the minor leagues with the Seattle Mariners organization. He won the Cal League Manager of the Year in 2017 with the Modesto Nuts, and now June 12th, 2019, he was named where he is today as the manager of Oregon State. Last year, his team went 37-24, reached the NCAA Regional, and they're on their way. That is for sure. And Mitch, this is a guy who when I talked to him, was just grateful for where God has put him, where God has him. And he's got one pretty awesome story that doesn't involve baseball a whole lot. It's really about his faith in Jesus, overcoming tragedy, lost his mom to a drug overdose, lost his brother, Dustin, in 2008, was killed while serving as a U.S. Marine. So he's been through it, and yet God has brought him to the other side, and here he is now telling his story today on Sports Spectrum. Take a listen. Hey, Mitch, what's going on?
Life is great. We are every day find ways to get better on and off the field, staying after the student athletes, making sure they're taking care of that student part, and really just enjoying being here in Corvallis. It is home, being able to go to work every day with guys that I played with and other alums. I couldn't say enough how fortunate we are to be in the the situation we are today. And I'm just excited every chance we get to go out there and work on the field. So as we're conducting this interview, I'm going to keep my mind in the present and not thinking about coaching up the catchers.
That's a great point. Well, I wanted to ask you that too, because that was sort of the starting point here. I mean, you're at your alma mater. That's got to be such a cool thing to come back to the place where, you know, when you were 22, 21, 20 years old, you're learning about life and growing and playing baseball. And now you're coaching at the same place. How have these last few years been for you coaching with Oregon State?
You know, it's started in 2007. Darwin and I had talked about it a long time ago. I remember sitting in the dugout in Omaha, you know, like, man, this is incredible. Hey, someday let's get back here and coach together.
Wow.
You know, wouldn't that be awesome? We love this place so stinking much, and it's transformed our lives in so many different ways for the better. Taught us about being a husband, taught us about, being a father, taught us about being a leader in our community and resilience. And, you know, at that time we had talked about it, but I do believe that you can speak things into existence, whether it's the house that we're living in right now. I remember picking it out in 2007 and telling the owner, I was like, hey, someday I'm going to buy your house. He's like, hey. And so when I got the job, I came back, I was like, I'm ready to buy that house now. He goes, you got to be kidding me. I don't know. It's a special feeling, and it goes much beyond anything I can imagine, because you're talking about giving back to your family. And I know that word gets used a lot and people try to replicate it. It's just like hard work. Everyone works hard if you're at this level, right? But what is the separator? And what does that really mean? On a scale of 1 to 10, what does hard work mean to one person is completely different to another. And so when I talk about this place being family and extremely special, I mean, it's deep from the heart. It's a spiritual thing for me that I've always asked through prayer to build patience and build strength. And I think God has created a ton of opportunities for myself and those around me to grow with him and kind of climb up the mountain. The higher up the mountain, I've always asked, I guess, God, please put me up as high as you can on the mountain where you think I fit, so that my voice and my actions can project to bring glory to you. And I feel like this is the place. It's never been, I guess, on my mind to be in the big leagues and make a ton of money or nothing like that. It's just, I feel like service is a much stronger area that I can bring glory to him. And I don't even like necessarily consider myself Coach Canham. You know, I think of myself as a servant to others, whether it's my family and my community and this university and the student athletes and the families that are involved with them. You know, every time we get on a recruiting call, whether they're going to show up here or not, you know, you want to let that person know that they're cared about and that they have, you know, the abilities behind them and the support. You just want to uplift each and every person you get to be around. So it means something special to, you know, wear the Beaver uniform. And it's waking up every morning, sometimes with a 7 and 9 year old jumping on your chest. Either way, I'm waking up with a smile on my face because we get the opportunity to be here and influence others.
It's interesting. You mentioned about coaching, and you're winning a College World Series in 2007. You won it in back-to-back years in 2006 and 2007 as a player with Oregon State. And you're talking about, wouldn't it be great to come back and coach here someday? But yet you went and had a 9-year pro career. I mean, you went and you did the minor league grind that so many who've come on this show have shared about. So you were pursuing this pro baseball dream for a while. It wasn't like you got out of college, you played a little bit, and you went right into coaching. You played for a while. Talk me through and walk us through what that was like, kind of through this minor league journey where you got selected as a first rounder and yet still didn't have that dream, if you will, of going to the major leagues happen. Although God had a different dream, obviously, in his plans for you to come back to Oregon State. But what was that like, being there in that minor league grind for so many years?
Made a lot of great friends. experiences that will stick in my memory bank for a lifetime, and I think have helped influence me to a level that I can then, shine some light for other guys that are looking to pursue that next step. Because just like now, even after playing 9 years, I had started with some friends, and my wife started a company and a nonprofit as well while I was playing. And that was my off season and some spare time in season as well. And it can be a lot, on your heart and your head as far as when that day comes, because at some point it's going to end for everyone, right? And what are you going to do? And so I think the guys that always succeeded the most were really good about being in the present moment. And I know that's something that people talk a lot about now. Just be in the present moment. Tomorrow has its own worries, right?
Yeah.
And the guys that are most successful, I always notice that they identify what it is they want, but it's not just staring at that end result. It's focusing on this next step, climbing up the mountain and making sure you don't lose your foothold. And there's also that, or if you can't identify where you're going and what you want in life, it's like climbing a ladder into the clouds. Some people will just keep climbing, and then, they've been optimistic as all get up, and over they're like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. You have no idea when you're going to get there or when that clicking moment is. And sometimes people just turn around and start, descending that ladder, and they have no idea that they were just one more step away. So do what you can in this day and in this moment, and bring out the best version of yourself. And I thought that was something I learned through playing in the minor leagues. Okay, we're in AA again, Great. Then I still have room to grow, and I'm going to make some new friends, and I'm going to learn here. I think some of the best learning moments I had when I was not playing, when I was on the DL, maybe not initially, as you start to feel that, darn it, man, what's going on right now? Can't get in the lineup. I'm banged up, whatever it is. But I had a great support group around me. They checked me real quick. No complaining. I love that rule. No complaining.
Yeah.
And there's something that you can get out of today. So even it applies to what we do today. If any of our guys are a little banged up and they're unable to throw or run because of a hamstring or something, it's even on our injury reports. There's a section, the can section. What can you do? All right. I may not be able to throw because of my shoulder. I can use my legs. I can use my brains. I can get on that cardio. I can do some core. I can do some grip strength. I can support the guys next to me, feed machines. There's always stuff that we can do. And I think over the course of those minor league seasons and getting married and having kids and building a whole new respect for what my mom and dad went through raising kids and how tough it really is, but how special it is at the same time. I learned a lot about that. I don't even like thinking about the word hardship anymore. I think of it more as just opportunities. Hardship, coming from a military family where everyone has served except for me, and what sacrifice really is. I mean, people are going over there and fighting for their lives and others' lives around them. Whereas I think of, having 16 surgeries and, living in a little apartment with my wife and 2 kids. We don't have much money in the bank account or anything like that, but you surround yourself with great people. My wife, strong Christian, brought me, even stronger to my faith and held me accountable. She's my truth teller. She lets me know how it is. Sometimes the silent treatment goes a long ways as well.
Yeah.
And, it brought a whole new meaning. Like just the other day, myself and a handful of guys were out pulling weeds and blowing off leaves and doing all kinds of stuff around the ballpark. I mean, do we need to do that? No. But does it keep us grounded and remain humble? And so, we got a trip coming up next year, and we're like, well, do we want to fly or do we want to bus? I said, I tell you what, we'll fly there, but I want to bus back. Well, why? We can fly. He because I spent 9 years on a bus, actually
Yes,
another
did.
3.5 as a manager. And I loved it because I got to spend time with the guys, read books, roam up and down the halls, sit down, talk with different guys, shoot, even laying down in the aisle, getting a little nap. That makes that bed when you get to the hotel or home feel that much better. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed every second of professional baseball as a player. I think I enjoyed it even more when I started coaching, because you don't really have numbers anymore. You get away from the scoreboard and all that and just focus on the people and making them better and teaching them how to compete in everything that they do. And the little things matter. And I've always just enjoyed that part of professional baseball.
Hey guys, let's take a quick break from our conversation here on Sports Spectrum's podcast to tell you about this 52-week increase devotional. I am so excited about this book. It's out now. It's available for everyone to get themselves a copy. And we've been thinking about this for a while here at Sports Spectrum. What's a book that we can create, a resource that we can create using the interviews and the conversations that we've had here on this show and have it be in a book form, really a devotional form that you can go through for an entire year with yourself, with your teammates, with people in your small group. Maybe you're a coach and you have players that you want to go through. Maybe you're looking for, as a mentor, to be a mentee to somebody and you have this devotional that you can go through with them. This Increase 52-week devotional, I got to tell you, I'm so proud of it. And I highly recommend you all get yourselves a copy, especially if you love sports and you love Jesus. Inspiring stories of faith in Christ from the world of pro sports. The Increase 52-week devotional. You can get your copy today at theincrease.com. Very simple. Theincrease.com, where all of our resources are there, including this devotional, theincrease.com, or you can get your copy on Amazon. The 52-week Increase devotional. Get your copy today. We're so glad to have Mitch Canham here on Sports Spectrum, Oregon State's head baseball coach. You talked about your faith. You talked about the importance of your wife encouraging you in your faith. Can you kind of take us through what that journey's been like, walking with Jesus and kind of that, I guess, the testimony, right, of coming to faith in Christ and kind of growing throughout, your journey with both your wife, being married, but even as a baseball player? What's that been like?
Well, I'm gonna do my best. I can get, when I talk about Oregon State and I talk about my faith, I can go for quite a while, and I'm not afraid to, because I get pretty pumped up about it.
Yeah.
So I'll try to keep it a little shorter. But I remember growing up in Eastern Washington. My great grandmother lived right across the street from the Baptist church. So you literally look out the window, open the front door, and there it is,
Yeah.
right? And she's handing you a quarter to put in the offering plate when it's getting passed around, and a stick of bubble gum if you behaved. And I remember being baptized at a young age, and then I ended up going back and doing it again because I grew so much in my faith that I was like, I don't even know who that person was who got baptized before. This relationship is so much different, and it's like there's the continual wall that gets put in front of people, whether it's how far can I run, or how hard can I really work, or my faith, how close am I to Christ? You think you're there, and then when you break through that wall and get closer to it, you see that wall is really so much further down the road. And that's something that I've enjoyed as an athlete, just as a life competitor, I guess, but also in my faith is, when we moved up to Northwest Washington, just north of Seattle and out of the Tri-Cities in Eastern Washington, it was different. We moved a lot. We moved about 13 times before I was in 6th grade.
Wow.
My mom and dad split up, so it was a divided home, and you heard stuff you didn't really want to hear, or kids shouldn't necessarily have to hear. But I had my younger brother. My older brother was living with my grandparents. My mom really wasn't able to take care of my older brother at that time. She had struggled. Then it continued to get worse with drug addiction and ended up taking her life. My first day of college, I got that phone call coming down here to Corvallis, and right out the chute, getting the call from my little brother. That was tough. But again, being surrounded, God has a way of just putting those people around you, and just the little things. It kind of opened my ears even more so. I thought I had a good relationship with Christ, but it grew even more. And it showed me that I got to do a better job listening. And I do think that everyone has their conversations with God in a different way, and how he's going to talk to you might be a little different. And I kind of just closed my mouth at that point, opened my eyes and my ears, and I just saw him calling me even closer. From that time, it's funny I say that, because I remember feeling a stronger relationship with God and my faith just growing. And I look back on it now and I'm like, man, I'm so much further down the road than when I was there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see that relationship continue to grow. And, later on, we lost my younger brother. He was a Marine. He was in Egypt for 4 days. And he was killed. And after that, I remember obviously being devastated. And my dad, thinking about my dad and how hard it was for him too. I mean, his littlest one.
Yeah.
And I asked as my dad was going through this, I asked him, I go, Dad, how hard would it be if you and I never talked? He goes, son, that would crush me. I wouldn't have a reason to live. And I said, well, that ain't going to happen, because we're always going to stay close, and our relationship has continued to grow. But I go, but that's kind of what the big man upstairs is asking right now. Like he loves you way more than you could ever love me, or I could love you, or anything. And you're not having that conversation with him. And as I was telling him that, I think it opened up his eyes a little bit, and it even opened my eyes up even more, saying we need to make sure that we're spending time with that person. It's like any relationship, really.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been together for 19 years. We've had our tough times. We've had our great times. And one thing I think through my faith and my family is, it's not always going to be easy. And there are going to be times when you got your head spun the wrong way and you're neglecting that relationship. But that's why you have family. That's why you have faith. My wife is so diligent. Every morning she gets up, she makes sure that the kids are ready to roll for school. She makes sure that even I am dressed appropriately and I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And, as soon as everyone's out the house, she's in her Bible, she's journaling, she's, spending time with God, and she passes on that wisdom to me. And that's helped her and I a ton with our parenting and how we spend our time throughout the day. If you got 100 pennies, how are you spending them? And we make sure that we're spending that time together. And I just watch how patient she is with our kids. And then the reflection comes back to me. I'm like, you know what? She's really patient with me too. I'm talking about being on those bus rides and traveling. Our kids, 7 and 9, have both been in over 35 states.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of it from being in a car, driving around. And so you got to have patience. I don't think you can turn the radio up loud enough sometimes to drown out some of the hollering in the back seat. But, when I was here and after my mom passed, Jess Lewis, our head grounds crew keeper, had a class called Drugs and Sports. And Jess Lewis shared his story about being an Oregon State football player and wrestler, Olympian wrestler, playing in the NFL, and what pain that a drug addiction had caused in his life, and how it turned it completely upside down and very nearly ended it. And how he rebounded, and the daily fight to keep the good fight going. And he encouraged us to go out and talk to an elementary school. It was, I got the privilege of speaking to Linus Pauling Elementary here in Corvallis, 4th grade class. And Jess asked us, hey, I'd like for you guys to share something about yourself, or part of your story to these groups. And I was wrestling with it. Okay, what do I want to share? I had a picture of my mom at that time in my room. And I said, all right, we're going to just let it out. We're going to go up there. So I brought some photos, and I was bawling up on the stage talking to the guys. And but I walked out of there, man, I felt relief. I felt strength. I felt like I wasn't alone. I probably slept better that night than I ever had in my life. And it changed my mindset about, that we're not alone and that we all go through struggles, but that there are other people there. And I knew that God had put that man in my life and so many others, not just about me, but I was so grateful that Jess has been put in my life at that time. And it wasn't just him. There's a lot of people here at Oregon State. It's a college town. It's a smaller community. Everyone knows who you are. Especially if you got a vehicle that kind of stands out, everyone's going to, see you. So you better mind your P's and Q's when you're rolling about town. But
that's right.
It just, it puts you in those groups. And when you open yourself up and share, and that's what God wants you to do too, right? Because he wants you to be open and honest with him, share with others. As we have a great chaplain here that meets with our team once a week. And he's invited us out to his church, and I've seen a couple here. We were doing some church dating here in town, and the community that is tied together here in Corvallis and at these churches is remarkable. It's hard to say which one we're going to go to all the time because you enjoy the worship. That's one thing Coach Case always did. He was at Mass every day. And we listened to him speak just the other day, and I walked out there. I'm like, man, I'm still fired up. Yeah. Right? As soon as you hear him speak, you're like, yeah, this is the same feeling I had when I was playing for him back in the day. Yep. And how did he become, so wise with his time? And there's no doubt it has to do with having a relationship with Christ and continuing to grow there. So that, the big man's going to tell you how he wants you to treat people. He's going to tell you how he wants you to spend your time. You just have to also, I don't even know if the right word is courageous. You just got to not be a dum-dum and do what you're told. Right? Because he's given us the answers to the test. All we got to do is ask, and he's going to give it to us. But one of my favorite Bible verse, James 1:2-4. Consider an opportunity a great joy when troubles of any kind come your way. Yeah. And that is really an opportunity to build endurance and build strength with him, through him, to be a better human being. Because we don't know how long we get here. And from surgeries, from split family, from drug abuse, from racism, seeing that as a kid, and all kinds of different things, I don't look back on any of it and say, man, that sucked. I don't have that. I'm more so grateful. I think about the stories. And so every time something happens, it's good. Let's roll forward. That's why I can't stand complaining. Yeah. About what? About what? You get food on your plate. You got a roof over your head. I always ask my dad, I was like, hey, so what am I going to get for allowance this week? Do I get $20? He goes, how about the roof over your head, the food in the fridge, and this, that? And I was
say the same thing to my daughter.
Keeps using that one. I was like, okay, I get it. You're right. But, if I can get a $20, it'd be all right too. Sure. But I think, that was getting to work 3 jobs in high school, working at the car wash, the Pizza Hut Express, and also working at my dad's screen printing shop and cleaning screens. It taught me a lot. And I want that for, our kids. I want that for our student athletes to get out there and work and understand it's not anything hard on you. You can handle it. You can get through that wall. Imagine how many people you're putting a smile on their face, showing them that you can do the little things right and the tough things. But with faith, And with anything else in life, I do believe most people are fearful of how great they can be, because it does take effort and it requires you to get out of bed and do the right thing. And there's always going to be the next wall in front of you. Have the courage to face it. And you're not facing it alone. You never feel this, well, I got to do this today and I got to do that today. I have a very close friend who's the godfather of our kids, Irvin Brown. And every time I talk to him, Irv, how you doing? Oh, we're doing great today. We're going to do some shopping and we got this and that. And I go, Irv, you live alone. Who's the we? And he goes, oh, me and Jesus. I loved it. He's like, he goes, it's pointless for me to say I anything, because it's never an I, it's a we.
Yeah.
And there's so much power to that. And it puts a smile on my face every time I think about it.
No, that's such a good story. And you said got to versus get to, which I think is a big thing, especially for coaches to kind of transfer over to their players, is we don't have to do this. We get to do this every single day, to wake up and to, play baseball and to go to school. And like you say, have a roof over our heads and have food on our dinner table. So it's such a great reminder of perspective. As we wind down, I want you to just kind of expand a little bit on the importance of sharing your story. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are timid or say, hey, that's for other people, that's not for me. It took me a while too. I grew up with an alcoholic father and had a real tough life growing up, and a relationship that was kind of broken with my dad. And finally I started sharing it, and I realized, well, I'm not sharing it to brag, I'm sharing it because there's a person there that I didn't realize was going through the same thing and needed to hear that they're not alone. But then others are shy or scared or afraid maybe even to share that story. Can you just encourage those people listening that might be kind of apprehensive on wanting to open up and share their journey?
Yeah, I wish if someone was curious, they could feel, and if they are apprehensive to it, they're probably feeling the same thing that I was back in early college and in high school. Your stomach's in knots and you kind of, you feel lost. You're wandering around and you're wondering what your purpose is. And it just goes to being selfless, like get out of your own way. This isn't necessarily about you. You have to understand that by sharing your story, you're uplifting other people. And I remember going to Riverton, Wyoming with a couple friends. Had a cousin out there and went and spoke with some high schools. And I remember there's about 2,000 people sitting up there we're talking to, shared the story. And of the 2,000 people, and who knows how many people really took away from it, but I remember 2 little kids came over and talked to me after I was done. And we shared a tear, and they opened up and they're like, my dad left and my mom's really sick and she still smokes cigarettes. And it just, and then for her, I mean, she lost one parent and the other parent was struggling with it. And, talking about like not cocaine or heroin or anything like that. We're talking about smoking cigarettes, but to that kid, this was difficult because of how much this kid loves their mother. And, just sitting there and having that moment together. And both of these young kids said, they were just like positive talking at that point. I'm going to make sure that I do things right. I'm going to make sure I'm in control of me and what I can do, my actions, not my environment. I'm going to control how I react to things. And it just told me that they heard the message. So if 1,998 people in there were tuned out or, wanted to make fun of me or like, who's this guy and whatever, 2 people.
Yeah.
So 1 out of 1,000. And it was so worth it. And it still warms my heart to do it. And it provides courage every time you do it. And you're able to see that there is some success in there, and you're going to get a lot just by yourself from sharing it and open it up. You got to let it out. It's just sitting in there festering. And whether it's with other people or sitting there and talking to the big man, let it out to him. He already knows. Other people know, like there's no one out there that's everything's just hunky dory and life's great. People try to hide it because they put on, the front, but at the same time, or I'm just going to be strong through this. Sharing doesn't make you weak. Sharing shows confidence, and you should be able to tell that story and keep your chest up and your eyes up. Don't notice anyone's shoes in the room. Stop staring down at your phone looking for something as an escape. It's okay to share. That's how you get people in your life that want to help, that are there for you. That's how you build your circle. You find out who the real people are. Because every time I've shared my story, there are those that then open up and share their story right back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to give to you, and you may very well give back. But guess what? Even if you don't give anything back, that's not why I'm giving.
Right.
Sharing a story is a strong gift that you can give to other people. But an even more powerful one is opening your ears, sitting down and listening and letting someone else share their story and being attentive to it and following up. Golly, I love the follow-up. That's one thing Jesus is always good with, right?
Absolutely.
He's not going to just hit you with the wisdom and then take off. He's going to keep on coming. Yes. He's relentless with it.
I mean, the parables are all follow-ups, right? When you think about it. Yeah. So that's really well said, Mitch. This has been great. We could do a whole nother show for another hour talking about some of the other things that I was thinking about, but why don't we call it a quits here, and then we'll have you back on and we'll go deeper into some of the other things the next time. Mitch Canham, thanks for being here on the show. All the best for the 2022 baseball season in Oregon State. I know you all made the NCAA Regional last year, and who knows, this year maybe it's even further. But we do appreciate you being here on the show. Thanks for sharing your story.
Jason, thank you for having me. I look forward to the next chat.
And many thanks to Mitch Canham for being here and sharing just a portion of his story here on Sports Spectrum, the Oregon State head baseball coach. I was serious when I said that, too. There was a lot that I didn't even get a chance to ask him in this conversation, but I kind of like that because that means that there'll be another time that we get Mitch back on the show, maybe next summer after they, who knows, maybe make another trip to the College World Series. But then we get Mitch back and we can talk to him a little bit more about coaching, talk to him a little bit more about discipleship, some of the things that I had questions about that we didn't even get to, maybe some stories from his minor league career. Mitch Canham was great. Really appreciate him sharing his story, especially in the second half of that conversation where he shared his testimony. I know there was a lot there. It was a long answer, but what a great story. And it was my time to be quiet and just let Mitch share. And I think that's a good reminder for all of us. If we have a story, man, we got to share it, especially if we know it can help other people. So that was a great encouragement for Mitch Canham. I hope it encouraged you as well. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Before we let you go, make sure you do go check out our website, sportspectrum.com. All of our content is available there for free. Podcasts, articles, devotionals, the intersection of sports and faith every single day over at sportspectrum.com. And look at that website, look at this content, this podcast as a resource for you to share the gospel with someone who loves sports, maybe doesn't have that strong faith yet. Have them hear stories like Mitch Canham's, and hopefully that encourages them. And look at Sports Spectrum as a way to share Jesus with someone else. So thanks for tuning in. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. And tune in next time right here on Sports Spectrum. See you then.